Have you ever wondered if there were rituals so powerful they could turn drought into rainfall? Rituals that could transform a struggling harvest into abundance? Or attract blessings of health, wealth, and peace into an entire community? Across Africa, there are ancient practices that our ancestors swore by. Rituals that did not demand blood or fear, but instead called on gratitude, respect for nature, and the power of unity. Today on Afritruth, we uncover the forgotten African rituals that were believed to attract natural blessings. Stay with me, because what you're about to hear might just change how you see life itself. In the traditional African worldview, rituals were not strange. They were not optional. They were the heartbeat of daily life. That a ritual could be as simple as greeting the ancestors each morning, or as grand as a festival that gathered thousands of people. For our ancestors, rituals were bridges. Bridges between the seen and the unseen, between human effort and divine favor. They believed that life was not random. Blessings could be invited, multiplied, and secured through ritual acts. Let's begin with perhaps the most universal ritual in Africa: libation. Across Igbo land, across Ghana, Sierra Leone, Yoruba land, and even among the Zulu in South Africa, the act of pouring drink onto the earth carried deep meaning. When an elder poured palm wine, or water, or even crushed kola nut, they were not wasting food. They were opening the spiritual path. It was a way of saying, "We remember you, ancestors. We honor you, Creator. Walk with us today." Libation was believed to call for protection, for fertility, for wisdom, for peace in the home, and for a harvest that would overflow. Even today in Ghana, no important event, political, social, or cultural, begins without libation. Because to start anything without spiritual approval was considered a dangerous mistake. Now imagine this: a village locked in drought, the rivers dry, the soil cracked, children crying from thirst. What did our ancestors do? They turned to the rainmaking rituals. Among the Shona of Zimbabwe, entire communities gathered for the rain dance, drumming, chanting, stomping feet through the night. Among the Dinka of South Sudan, prayers were lifted to Dang, the god of rain. In Nigeria, the Igbo had sacred lakes. Offerings were made to water spirits to bring rain. The belief was never that humans could command nature. Instead, it was that when a community showed unity, joy, and humility before the divine, the skies would respond with blessings, and history is full of testimonies. After nights of ritual dancing, the clouds gathered, and the rain came. In Africa, temples were not always built of stone. Sometimes, they were living giants, sacred trees. In Igbo land, the kola tree was not just food. It was a spiritual key. Breaking kola meant inviting peace and prosperity. Among the Yoruba, the Iroko tree was considered a dwelling of powerful spirits. To stand beneath it, to make offerings at its roots, was to speak directly to the divine. The Kikuyu of Kenya held the fig trees sacred. They prayed beneath them for rain, for fertility, for blessings. The tree itself was a bridge, rooted in the earth, reaching into the heavens. A living reminder that humans cannot survive without partnership with nature. But one of the deepest rituals of blessing was gratitude. Across West Africa, the festival of the New Yam, known as Irig, remains one of the most powerful ceremonies. Before anyone tasted the new harvest, the first yam was offered to God and to the ancestors. In Southern Africa, the Zulu celebrate Mkosi Wakwashwama, a first fruit ceremony where the king blesses the nation's crops. Among the Akan of Ghana, the Adwara festival served a similar purpose: purification, thanksgiving, abundance. The wisdom was simple. When you give thanks first, blessings multiply. But if you hoard without gratitude, your abundance will dry up. Let's step back in time to an Igbo village. Hundreds of years ago, the barns are almost empty. The old yams from last season are shriveled, barely enough to last. The community waits for the harvest of new yams. But before anyone can eat, the elders gather. A large yam is roasted, broken into pieces, and lifted in prayer to God and the ancestors. Only then can the people eat. The lesson was clear. Without gratitude, blessings are incomplete. With gratitude, even the smallest harvest could open the way for abundance. Blessings were not only about crops. They were also about family and prosperity. Among the Ashanti of Ghana, women danced barefoot on fertile soil during festivals. They believe this invited blessings of children. In parts of Nigeria, young maidens were adorned with chalk and beads. They joined dances to attract divine favor for marriage and fertility. Even today, many African weddings still carry echoes of these rituals. The sharing of kola, the pouring of palm wine, all believed to seal a marriage with prosperity. For our ancestors, true blessings were complete only when family, love, and community thrived. But not all blessings were about the soil. Along Africa's trade routes, rituals also attracted wealth. The Yoruba merchants of old never began a journey without invoking Esu, the guardian of crossroads, and Ogun, the spirit of iron, for protection and success. Among the Igbo, market days were sacred. Offerings were made to the earth goddess before major transactions. This ensured fairness and prosperity. In East Africa, Swahili traders prayed by the ocean. They believed the sea spirits controlled their fortunes. Wealth was never seen as separate from the spiritual world. Trade and blessings walked hand in hand. Looking at all these rituals, one truth stands out. They were never about fear. They were about alignment. Alignment between man, nature, and the Creator. Our ancestors believed blessings were not random. Rain, wealth, health, fertility. These could be invited, multiplied, and preserved through rituals of gratitude and respect. Today, many dismiss these practices as primitive. But what if they were keys? What if blessings do not only come through hard work, but through harmony with forces greater than ourselves? The question remains, have we lost these keys? Or are they still hidden in the festivals, the dances, and the prayers we continue today, waiting to be rediscovered? What do you think? Are blessings something we attract through ritual, gratitude, and unity? Or are they just coincidence? If you believe these ancient rituals still hold wisdom for today, share this video so the truth of Africa is never lost. And don't forget, subscribe to Afritruth, where we uncover the mysteries, the hidden traditions, and the forgotten power of Africa.
Afritruth, the untold story continues.